Buffalo podcast. This is your host Ravikant, aka the Buffalo Intellectual. We're back to usual programming. I would say this episode is on the um, education system and all the things that are going wrong with it because there's so many stories. It's not one thing. It's not one story. It's consistently story after story which has been happening. So I just thought like I will do. It's been a while since I have done this, so I thought I will just do that. And like I was just telling somebody, a friend of mine, recently that this is my bread and butter rant. Me talking about education is just a bread and butter story. The first podcast episode that I've ever done, like much long before I had my own show, was for Vandit Jain's podcast, where I spoke on education, higher education, and the idea of merit. Then my first episode with Anurag Miners Verma was also on education. I've gone back two more times to Anurag's show to talk on education, some issue to do with it, do with things like that. On my own show, if you go one of the early episodes, it's on IITs and student suicides. I did one whole episode, probably the only one, which was a sort of a book review, which was about like how it was a book of essays that rich Savarna kids from elite IB schools who got accepted into like Stanford, Harvard, and these sort of Ivy Leagues. So it was a collection of those essays, and all those students are all those people are from like the Dhirubhai Ambani International School in Bombay, or like some of these very elite IB schools, right? And it was just me talking about like how this kind of happens. Like there are proper consultants who are charging. I read in the newspaper, like the Times of India story, that they charge over 5 lakh, 6 lakh rupees to kind of uh, customize the portfolio of these very rich, elite, intergenerationally wealthy Savarna kids. Like they will write their SOP and coach them and get them into internships, which makes their package look better. So that overseas universities might give them admission. And I wrote about that. I put it on Twitter, and then I put it on my Instagram. And a lot of people reached out, like some more than one person, like some 4 or 5 different people DM'd me saying, "Hey, I used to work for an organization like this, and actually, it's a lot more than 5 lakhs. Like it's closer to 18 or 20 lakh rupees that parents will spend on these special consultants, who will take this kid and like customize his or her like SOP and application forms, and which institution to apply, what kind of internship. So like one social work, one this, one that, like give them a grand sounding dream. I want to kind of save the planet. I want to like build a more equitable society in India, all of that crap. And like all of those essays, a lot of different people were writing. Many of them have to sign mandatorily non-disclosure agreements, which for those of you who don't know is a legal thing that shady people make you do, right? So if I was to, let's say, hang out with beer biceps, okay, for some reason beer biceps decides to kind of hang out with me, and what he'll do is, because I'm a nobody and I'm a loser, okay, so if a loser like me goes into that circle, what he would probably do is say that you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, that whatever we talk about, you see around me, you can't disclose it. So these are sort of these agreements which a lot of these shady employers kind of make their employees sign, and like threaten them with like legal consequences. So basically these are consultants who are hiring people or can hire people. I don't want to get into legal trouble myself. Like I've heard, okay, it's speculative, so it's not definitive. So like I've heard that what they'll do is they'll hire people, and like they will make them sign non-disclosure agreements, and then these people are writing the SOPs and things of that nature, which are getting these elite rich Savarna kids admissions into overseas colleges. And that's a major pipeline. Like right now, I think if I remember the data correctly, 1/3 of all international students who go to the UK, which means out of all the countries in the world, on the planet, of all continents, students who go to the UK, British, Scottish, Welsh, Northern Ireland universities, one third, 30%, or one third of them are from India. And if you go and see the profile, so what that effectively means is, if you go to any sort of university in UK, you're likely to see a lot of Indian students, right? And if you go and see like who these Indian students are, if you go see their last names, see where they studied, what kind of colleges they went to, what kind of schools they have come from, it becomes abundantly clear these are very, very wealthy Savarnas who have who actually, like, like most of elite Savarna society, they don't need India, they don't need the Indian education system, they don't interact with the Indian education system, they don't meet the Indian education system, they don't have to go to these farm factory type of coaching institutes which are there. All of So much of Indian education system depends on these mass coaching centers. So much of political economy of these coaching centers, like, these guys are incredibly wealthy. I'm in Telangana. The regular listeners would know. So in this Telangana Andhra region alone, there are two major coaching preparation, these kind of, like, chain of places, like, there's Chaitanya and the other one, and like, they are making, like, the scale of that money is unimaginable. People are literally offering, coaching classes online on YouTube and becoming like millionaires from that. Like, the catch is, you just have to be good at it, and like, teaching is a difficult job. Some of our best teachers are actually not teaching in university, they are teaching not in colleges, they are teaching in coaching classes, helping students get into the colleges where really mediocre teachers will teach you. That's how messed up the system is. But elite wealthy Savarnas don't need to deal with it, because mommy and daddy will hire like some consultant and pay them 20 lakh rupees or 5 lakh rupees or whatever, 75 lakh rupees, and these people will write the essay, and these people will go abroad, and like, they'll make a career as a YouTube influencer or an Instagram influencer, and then, like, the only difference is, I was making reels in Bombay, now I'm making reels in New York, girl about town, dude in Europe, like, that's the only thing there. It's horrendous, it's stupendous that as a society this has taken place, right? So, like I said, this is my bread and butter rant. I can make this whole podcast an education review podcast. And don't think I have not thought about that. Like, it would be good. Like, I would just come here. Like, I try to do two of these episodes, the free episodes, two episodes a week. Sorry, a month. And I will just come here every fortnight, every 2 weeks, and just talk about like some new thing about education and higher education. Or And I don't even, and here's the thing, I don't even talk about school children, like the school education, the primary, because like my focus is on higher education, but like, my god, that's a completely different, like, box of crazy which is there. So, like, there's just so much to unpack, and it really, I can't stress this enough. It really breaks my heart, and it kills my spirit, just how little conversation इस समाज में, इस society में है about education, right? About standards of education, about what we put our young people through. It's terrible. It's mind-boggling for me. Like, even, and I don't just mean right-wing people. Don't think that these are a set of problems which have come from Modi or the BJP government. Yes, they've made some of these things terrible, and they're clearly not very good at delivering on some of these core things. Like, they've ruined the railways, they've ruined the civil aviation thing. So, like, railways now, accidents are happening and all of that. Like, maybe, god forbid, like, at this rate, maybe there'll be an aviation disaster, there'll be high halla for high halla and chilla chilli for like a few days. But like, it'll be fine, it'll just be fine. Like, these people, really have not been doing a good job of it. Same with education. But the problems of the education sector, actually higher education especially, go much much earlier than that. Manmohan Singh's government really brought in some terrible changes. Like, it's really the Manmohan Singh era blueprint of higher education policy, which continues. Modi really hasn't, the BJP government hasn't really done much. They'll tweak the NCERT textbook here and there a little bit, but that's about it. This blueprint, this neoliberalization of higher education started under Manmohan Singh, started exactly at the point of time when his government was kind of forced to create more central universities, more IITs, more IIMs, and give OBC reservations. Around that time, the same government, while from one hand it was giving these opportunities, from the other hand, it started the process of, like, neoliberalizing higher education. So many of those policies have just continued, and it's incredible what an inefficient organization the UGC is. The NTA, now National Testing Agency, now it's made the newspaper. Now people understand what the NTA is. But these issues didn't come about today. They've been around. So I just wanted to kind of like do this, where I just wanted to, like, I was opening my for those of you in the video would, like, in the beginning of the episode, I was like looking off screen. I was like doing I was trying to open my Twitter, and I had this page thing where it's just the kind of shit which has gone down in the last 6 months. I'm not even going before that. I'm just looking from January to June, all these big stories, because every time something happens in education, I kind of tweet about it. Sometimes Squint or somebody will reach out and say, can you write an article? I've written articles about it and so on. But like, just this alone, there's so much to talk about. So in January, like, UGC came out with this. There was this rumor, there was this sort of like news report that UGC has come out with a draft policy, like sort of to test the waters, like this draft policy to kind of de-reserve SC, ST, OBC posts in universities. Like, they were trying to end reservation in hiring in like, in some of these higher education institutions, where they were saying like, okay, SC, OBC vacancy. So like, first of all, just this news alone, like, instantly, like within hours, that's one thing. Like, Ambedkarites uniformly and ferociously come together. Ambedkarism is not a centralized movement as such. There is no Politburo which sets down the law. There is no, core tenets. Different people believe in different things, and there are all kinds of different interpretations of things. But there are some very core things. Education and reservation is one of those. So the moment this kind of news hit social media, instantly, like, everybody came together. There was a ferocious outroar. Not just Ambedkarites, many people from the progressive left, many liberal Savarnas, like a lot of people just like immediately exploded. And the education minister, for once, like, I will give him credit for this, like, immediately possibly pulled the rug from under this. I think it was not something, my guess is it was not something that he had signed off on. I think it was a UGC, and more on this later. I think it was a UGC attempt to do this, and they kind of leaked it in the public domain to kind of like, sometimes, see, this is the thing people don't understand. A ruling party is not a monolithic block. Everything is not coming down directly from Modi. You have to understand that regime is very big. Many people want this. They have just, under Modi and under the BJP regime, they have just found the perfect platform for it. But this is, don't make no mistake, this is their agenda. So what will happen is, like, let's say if I am running an organization like UGC, okay, or any other organization, and the minister who this powerful organization reports to, let's say is not fully on board with my plan. He's not said no, but he's also probably weighing the political consequences, and he's kind of iffy about it. So here's what I can do. I can plant a small leak in the media. I can call it a draft. I can call it sources have said. I can put that. And like once the news is out, then like the minister has only two options. Either the minister can say, okay, yeah, we are doing this, so that it doesn't look like ministers, there is a leak in minister's domain, and that there is a that he has lost control of his own thing. And like whatever course correction he or she will take, will happen quietly behind the scenes. But the public face will be, yeah, we are considering it, it is a draft policy or whatever, something like that. Or on rare occasion, the minister will double down, saying, no, no, I did not sign off on this. This is not happening. They'll call up the organization or whoever and like blast the crap out of them, saying, like, what the hell do you think you just did? Go out and immediately say this was not a thing. I think that's what happened in this case, because within, I think, a day, within hours, I think the UGC official Twitter handle had to kind of put out this clarification saying there is no attempt at de-reservation of reserved category position in central education institutions. There's no such policy. We are not trying it out. So basically, they tried something naughty, and they got called out on it. At least that's what I think happened. Otherwise, it's a story of tremendous journalistic malfeasance. It means some journalists just cooked it up, which, given the state of this country, I would not be surprised. Given the state of journalism, I would not be surprised. There are plenty of sensationalist, gossip mongering, hustlers and fraudsters out there who pretend to be journalists. So it is not out of the realm of possibility that somebody just cooked this up. And UGC clarified, no, we never tried it. But it seems a little far fetched in this context, because UGC for the last decade, or especially last 5-6 years, has consistently kind of shadowed into policies with which this would make complete sense. So it's not out of, I don't know how to make sense of it otherwise, right? Which takes me to the UGC chairperson, basically, which is Jagadish. And like on my Twitter, I keep calling him Jaggu. So Jaggu is like a very interesting man. He wants like this kind of a situation. He's a big believer of neoliberalization of education, I think. He wants to push private universities in at all costs. He wants to bring in foreign universities. He has shown no interest, and the education ministry also has shown no interest in looking into huge dropout rates by SC/ST OBC students in institutions of higher learning. They have shown no interest, no urgency to fill the giant vacancies that exist in institutions of higher learning, which SC/ST, there are hardly any ST faculty. Scheduled tribes are among the worst represented in some of these institutions. There's hardly any faculty. There are hardly any PhD students from ST background. There are very few scheduled castes. There are very few OBCs. No institution, to my knowledge, has fulfilled their quota. So if your quota is that you have to hire 5 SC or ST faculty, maybe they'll hire one. Maybe they'll hire one or two, but they're really not hiring. What they'll do is they'll advertise for it, and I've spoken about these things in the before. So what they'll do is they'll advertise it, and then like the applications will come in. It's not like there are not educated people in these communities. These are very educated communities. Like there is not, I wouldn't say they're very educated. Like there's a section of people who's very educated, very qualified, and would be a good fit for some of these jobs. And what keeps happening is they'll apply for these jobs, right? And I'm including myself in it. OBC representation in institutions of higher learning is abysmal. And I practically am never considered for these jobs, because The other thing is the entire process of getting an OBC certificate is itself a joke. I don't think Savarnas understand this. I'll put this on Twitter and like some random anonymous, Sharma or whatever will come and be like, bro, it's simple, bro. It's just logic, bro. You can do this, bro. Like, shut up, yeah. Like, who asked you? Like, there are a lot of these people who live on some different fucking planet, and like they'll just come like, oh, it's just demand and supply, bro. Shut up. That like textbook उठा के मारूंगा मुंह पे मैं, right? Like you literally have no idea what you're talking about. You're an idiot. You sit at home. You're probably a junkie. You just learn, a few buzzwords because you go on these right-wing Reddit forums and they pump you in with more information than any of your mediocre teachers have been able to do. You have no curiosity, joy, empathy, or soul. Like behind your eyes is just vacantness. You go on social media and you have to be the edge lord. Okay, so you do it. I get it. Okay, I get it. I'm not judging it. If that's what you're doing, brilliant. I hope it works out for you. I Most days it doesn't bother me. Some days I'm just really low on patience. Okay, especially when I'm talking about education, because it really works me up. It really works me up. So like OBC certificates are extremely difficult to make because the reservation is, this is another one of those big Savarna conspiracy plot, whatever you want to call it. They linked OBC representation to class, which is one of the most. And by the way, they're not satisfied with it. They're trying very hard to sneak that into the SC/ST reservation also. It's not so easy because those communities have a very long history. So and it would be straight up violence. But OBCs are a very big range of communities, very fractured, very disorganized, and in many cases very right wing also. So so there is more scope there. So what they've done is they've said there is creamy layer and non creamy layer. So immediately we are not human beings, we are dairy products. Okay, so as OBC we have to kind of prove that, oh, you're creamy or non creamy. So reservation is only for non creamy, which means poor OBC. So how do you prove you're poor OBC? You need income certificate of your parents. Parents cannot be government employees of a certain stature. They cannot have an annual income or income from land. And there are हजार criteria. तो पहले तो आप वो prove करो, right? Okay, you're non-creamy, right? It doesn't get decided from my income. Like, so for instance, my income can be above 8 lakh, which or whatever is the range. It can be above that. It's decided by my parents' income. Okay, so I have to prove that my parents are garib. So every time I want to get an OBC certificate, I have to go and like prove to the government, actually I'm garib and I'm really like, I need this, right? And how do I prove it? Every year I have to kind of go to the government and say, no, in the last 1 year we suddenly have not become amir, we have suddenly have not become rich, we are still non-creamy, cream has just not come in the last 1 year. So I have to keep renewing that, right? And for someone like me, and there are like so many people, like you have, there's so much internal migration in India. We are originally from Punjab. I spent a lot of time in Calcutta. I studied in Ahmedabad. I worked in Bombay. I worked in Delhi. I worked in Pune, and I'm now living in Hyderabad, or not Hyderabad, Sangareddy, on the outskirts of Hyderabad. Like it's so difficult because each state has its own OBC list. So like my parents have to kind of coordinate with like the Punjab Tehsildar office, or I have to do it here. Like, and there's no clarity. Like, you literally, like, there is no helpline. There's no such thing that you can call up, figure out. There's no information. So people are always reaching out. Like, I'll call up somebody will call me up, hey, how did you get this done, how did you get that done? Imagine over 50% of this country's population is OBC. You've just thrown them out. Like, apne aap khojo apna, right? So that's the problem with the OBC certificate and so on. And let's say you still get an OBC certificate made after all of this. You have an SC certificate, you have an ST certificate. The law says that 5 people have to be hired. What they'll do is they'll never hire 5 people. Like I said, what they'll do is they'll put an ad saying IIT Bombay special recruitment drive for SA, SC, ST, OBC or whatever. Now people like me, let's say I have the certificate, like updated one, like mine is old. So I have to now prove that, oh, I am still not creamy, my parents are still garib. My dad has not worked or earned money in over uh, nearly 20 years now, 2004 5, yeah, so it's almost 20 years he's not earned money. My mom has not earned money. So, like, where will the cream come from? No, it doesn't matter, right? Like, so I have to still prove it, right? But let's say I update it somehow and I get the certificate, like the latest one, and then I'll apply for the job. I'll put my CV out. Then what they'll do is they'll use some criteria, some random criteria they will pick, and then they will say, oh no, this is, they'll eliminate it because they don't want to give me the job. That's the whole point, right? That's called not found suitable, NFS. What they'll say is like, we advertised, the CVs we got were not found suitable for this role. So that's their get out of jail card. That's their way of denying admission or denying hiring. Not found suitable, not found suitable, NFS, NFS. A couple of years ago, like, and they do this with not just hiring, with PhD admissions, with all kinds of things. Like a couple of years ago, like on Twitter only, like, Ambedkar is exposed this, like, for a JNU PhD program admission. There is a 30 marks interview. Like, I think I spoke on this in Anurag's podcast. Like, there was me, there was Kanchana Yadav, if I'm not mistaken, and Lakshman Yadav, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I think we were called a long time ago on that show, and this had just broken out, and that was the whole point. Like, I know people um, who, like, out of 70 mark of written exam, have, let's say, got 55 or 56, which is a good score out of 75 70. In the 30 mark interview, they've been given 1 out of 30, 0 out of 30, 2 out of 30. So I was just making this point: how do you get 0 out of 30 in an interview? Like, let's say you go to an interview and you can't say one sentence even, in which case it's on the interviewer to figure out what's going wrong, and that's not a good interviewer. The interviewer has to get answers out of you. Like a good interviewer will try and figure out, will work with your anxiety or whatever. Anxiety is not a good reason. um, Introvertedness, shyness, people get intimidated in interview situations. That's not a good reason to deny somebody admission, right? So a good interviewer will try to work with the interviewee to get past that, and certainly not write them off and say, okay, 0 on 30, like, screw you. And it's not just one candidate, it's like a whole series of them. Basically, to humko admission hi nahi dena chahte, right? That's what was going on. And this de-reservation thing, they were saying, okay, we're not found suitable, so we'll just put these seats in the open category. That was what was cried, and then they quickly got back at it, right? But, like, here's the thing that, I also wrote, like, one of these tweets, that um, UGC is approving private universities at an alarming pace every year. Currently in India, there are 423, and this is a old tweet, this is from January. um, there were 423 state private universities, and there are 479 public universities. So they're almost equal. Like, another 50 universities, remember, they're almost 50-50 now. Private universities versus public universities, both are state private university, state public university, are about almost 50-50, 423 and 479. About 20 years ago, in 2006, okay, 18-20 years ago, private universities were about 10 to 11%. Now they're almost 50%. So there's a clear drive. They have clearly tried to create an entirely new parallel university system. None of these private universities, almost none of these 423 universities, give reservation. Maybe like some universities here and there. Like Azim Premji has some form of affirmative action, but they'll what they'll say is, they'll call it need based scholarship. When I say affirmative action, Many, I think a lot of private universities have affirmative action, but it is quote unquote need based, which means it is income based, right? It's not caste based, it is not SC ST OBC reservation, which is representation oriented. Again, representation is different from income. Okay, so you have almost half of universities in India in the that's the share private universities now have, who don't give SC ST OBC representative reservation, representative affirmative action, right? I will not even go into, like, you can look at it from any different way. There's no other way to look at it except that the UGC, the education ministry, they have actively killed reservation, finished reservation in almost half of the universities in India. And in this period, this, by the way, started under Manmohan Singh. And if you see, every big Savarna Banya capitalist has invested in this. Ambani has his university, Adani has it, Jindal has it, Ashoka to, like, over 100 people got together, Goenkas have it, Mahindra has it, name it. Every single big or small, the Jain group, which has Times of India, Bennett University is there. Like, every single big Savarna capitalist has invested in these universities. So पूछना चाहिए ना, like, were you not interested in promoting Indian education before 1947? Sorry, since 1947. Why? What happened in 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, that suddenly all of you, all the Guptas, Goenkas, Mahindra, Jindal, Pindal, Adani, Wadani, why Ambani, why everyone started opening universities? There's, like, it's an invasion, it's an assault. They have come into it. I don't think they got together in a boardroom and said, chalo hum coordinate karke karte hain. No, it's it's more banal than that. It's more ordinary than that. This is what they want. This is an alignment of interest. The government wants it. They have actively eased up the regulatory processes. They have refused to look closely at these private universities in terms of, fine, you don't want to give SC ST reservation, okay, great. What about the fees? How do you justify a Ashoka or a Jindal or a Flame University costing 25, 30, 35 lakh rupees for a BA degree, when Pune University or any proper university, public university in India, gives that to you for 12,000, 15,000 rupees, right? How do you justify a 300% hike of fees in a country where education is how do I put it, is so policed? Our historical, sociological, caste, and all of these have a clear background of gatekeeping knowledge. In a society like that, how are these hundreds of universities, private universities, like, charging fees which is 100 times, 200 times? Like, what is the justification of, like, and I have taught, my whole teaching career has been in such private organizations, right? You can't ask any private university to justify, ऐसा क्या पढ़ा देते हो आप, ऐसा क्या है आपके सिलेबस में, पेडागोजी में, टीचिंग स्टाइल में, ऐसा क्या आप कर देते हो कि पुणे यूनिवर्सिटी और पब्लिक यूनिवर्सिटी और JNU और जादवपुर यूनिवर्सिटी और any of these top public universities can give you a BA degree in 12, 15,000 rupees for 3 years, and you go to an Ashoka or a Flame or whatever, and the same degree, BA degree, costs like 30 lakh rupees. ऐसा क्या डिफरेंस है? हाउ डज दैट यू आर डूइंग दैट दे कैन गिव इट फॉर 12,000, दिस इज गोइंग फॉर 30 lakhs? क्या गवर्नमेंट education ministry shouldn't ask this question? Because it's not one or two colleges, remember, It's not one or two colleges. Fine, one or two colleges. You want to do some super elite crap somewhere? Fine, do it. It's 423 private universities compared to 479. It's 50-50. And I know, like, not all the private universities are charging that much, but they're still charging significantly more. So the government is clearly looking the other way. They want big capital to come in. They want to create like this neoliberalization of education that I was talking about. This is the agenda. You don't want to hire SCST OBC faculty. You don't want to hire SCST OBC students. You want to privatize everything because you can't end reservation openly. If tomorrow the education ministry says, yeah, from the next academic cycle, SC, ST, OBC caste based reservations will be replaced with need based scholarships. If they do that, like, there will be chaos, there'll be upheaval, there'll be, the last time this was vaguely a possibility, like there were mass protests in over 50 cities, right? And the government clearly had to walk back from it. It has tremendous law and order implications, forget anything else, right? So they can't openly come out and saying this. So what they have done is they're saying, yeah, we are not going to touch reservation, but they have quietly promoted private universities to where they are almost 50-50. And this share will just keep increasing, and that's how they will keep doing it. And like, while this is happening, the quality of faculty in public universities, the quality of teaching in public universities is deliberately, I will say, deliberately being allowed to fall, right? India has done a terrible job since 1947 of keeping its good universities in a quote unquote good condition. Our history is, post independence history is full of these examples of these once very reputable, very great institutions who have lost quote unquote academic prestige. Whether it is Allahabad University, whether it is Nagpur University, whether it is Kanpur University, whether it is Banaras Hindu University, a lot of these universities were very prestigious at one point of time, and it's just been allowed to fall apart. Universities in Bihar, in Gujarat, in a lot of these places have just been allowed to kind of deteriorate. And what they do is, like, you just underfund a place. Like, if you are in Hyderabad, I would urge you to go to Osmania University. Okay, I was there like this Ambedkar Jayanti, Baba Sahib Jayanti week. I was invited for a talk at FLU, English Foreign Language University. And in FLU, the great Kancha Elia had come. He's a bit of an academic and personal hero of mine. It was a great moment. Like, I put it on my Instagram, like, I call myself Buffalo, and he wrote the book Buffalo Nationalism. That's kind of vaguely where it comes from also. So he was saying that, he was saying very nice things about me, and then he said, like, okay, I have an event in Osmania University, why don't you come with me? So, like, I went with him, and you walk around Osmania and you see the architecture, you see the building, you see what a fantastic kind of imposing building it is from the outside. And then you go in, and, like, it's falling apart. It needed repairs 20 years ago. Like, some months ago, on a different occasion, I had gone to visit the mass communication department in Osmania as a form of, like, outreach or whatever. Like, the professor there, he was very sweet, but he was telling me how they're struggling with it. They don't have approved budgets to hire faculty. And, like, even his office, like, if you could call it an office, like, the chairs on which he was sitting, like, the chairs were like three different kind of chairs. Means, like they were firstly falling apart, really old wooden chairs with, like, wicking. Like, it's clear that he had two of those kind of chairs, and one broke apart. It never got replaced, so he or somebody in the area got a different chair from a different room. So, like, it all looks like, whatever is working, just like they're just somehow keeping the place afloat. They have a studio, it's damp, it's down. But this institution is a legend. Osmania University has produced some really stellar people, really important people across the board. Its alumni network is phenomenal. So this institution um, is a massive thing. It's a monument, right? And you go there, and you can see like just how kya, like, now Revant Reddy, Congress is in power in Telangana. Does he not know what's happening in Osmania University? Did KCR's government, the previous regime, did they not know? Does BJP at the national level, which has all these regional aspirations of coming into Telangana and coming into Hyderabad, do they not see? Nobody wants to talk about it. Before this, Chandrababu Naidu was there, when United Andhra was there. No, they've let this fester. This is the actual tragedy. These are things which have been, these are crises which have been created, whether it is Osmania, whether it is Allahabad University, whether it is whatever. They've let it collapse, and you can see it also happening in Delhi University. Like, look at Delhi University. They keep hiring great teachers as ad hoc faculty, right? So 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, you're teaching as an ad hoc. Ad hoc means you're not a permanent faculty, which means at the end of the year they can just choose not to renew your contract. What a beautiful way to control faculty, right? And it's not even that I have to be particularly vocal or outspoken for them to get irritated with me. It can just be I keep my mouth shut, I go, I teach my class, and I'm good at it, and my students like me. And then they'll be like, okay, this guy is becoming very popular, he's making the rest of us look bad, let's just not renew his contract next year, right? And they can do this because Delhi is the hub of unemployed PhDs. Like, in every gully, nukkad, mohalla of Delhi, you'll find unemployed PhDs, right? Who are ready to do ad hoc work, who are ready to become assistant professor for 30,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees, and you make them teach 20 hours a week every day. Like, as school children, you go and you have to sit in class for like whatever 6 7 hours. You think about the opposite. As a professor, you go to a college and you're teaching 5 hours a day. It's insane, actually. It's absolutely insane. It No, I don't care how good a teacher you are, you can't be your best under a schedule like that. Like, Delhi University, what's going on in a lot of other places, some of these legacy colleges are the worst in this. Like, whether it is, Christ or Xavier's and colleges like that, they're some of the worst in paying their faculty and giving them, not overworking them, right? So they do this, and it's by the way, every place that I'm naming, I'll never get hired from there. So there is that, right? That's the other beauty of this. Like, I've kind of given up that I'll be hired by a good place, or that my career has any longevity left to it, because it's just gone. It's gone. Like, I've been open about it. A few episodes ago I was talking about my life is a dump. Like, fine, like, maybe this is my future, maybe I'll just start teaching coaching classes also. Kya farak padta hai, right? Like, it's fine. Buffalo coaching classes or something like that. But it's terrible what has happened to education in this country. You go to Delhi, like a city like Delhi, with all these colleges, Delhi University right there. Kya Aam Aadmi Party doesn't understand what's going on? Kya BJP doesn't understand what's going on? Kya Congress doesn't understand what's going on? Who is speaking for all of these professors and teachers and PhD students and young students? Like, it's not fair to the students in class also. This is not an ABVP versus left issue or a BAPSA versus SFI issue. It's not one of those. It's not at all. This is a structural issue, and nobody is getting placed. Like, some ABVP people, some RSS people might get hired full time, but like, even when they go in, like, the university is not really like, I'm sure maybe some people there want to actually teach. Not everybody, like, not everybody is a one dimensional cartoon. This is what people forget, right? I was tweeting on Twitter about like how, uh, the education system has failed students, and then people are tweeting, yeah, they are all BJP voters, good. Like, are you mad? What are you saying? Like, how can you assume, first of all, everybody who's inconvenienced by mismanagement of NEET or the cancellation of net, which we will talk about, we'll get to it, that everybody's a BJP supporter? Like, what sort of a petulant child behavior? Are you a child? These people, they are apolitical, serves them right. तू बड़ा है political? हाँ, तुम ही हो political, बाकी और कोई political नहीं है, उनका कोई inner life नहीं है. पहली बात, how do you know that they voted for BJP? Even if they voted for BJP, whatever is their reason, does that mean that, like, their careers and all of these things should suffer? These are young people you're talking about. These are students, right? They can be monsters tomorrow and they can come beat me up, and that's fine. I mean, it's not fine. Like, I'll hate on them then. But I'm talking as a teacher. When you're looking at students, you're looking at a structural thing. It's not a fair system, and it's been made to rot. It has nothing to do with electoral politics. That's the other thing. Oh, these people are apolitical. These people voted for BJP, so they deserve this. No, the Congress launched many of these things. These policies come from a different era. The education policy will not change if a different regime comes in. And by the way, I'm not very convinced Rahul Gandhi is the sort of social justice, woke, anti-caste leader he claims to be. And I've done this on the podcast. I spoke about this on Anurag's podcast. I spoke about it on my podcast recently. Um, like, you can see what they have done. They fought. They didn't want Chandrasekhar Azad to win. They deliberately kept Mayawati and BSP out of the India alliance. They deliberately played games with Vanchit Bahujan Agadi and Prakash Ambedkar Saab in Maharashtra, and they continue to do so. So this idea that, like, this is like, if BJP is suddenly magically removed, that the education policy will become more important, will become more refined, that SC, ST, OBC faculty will start getting hired, and private universities will be kind of regulated, and coaching class mafia will suddenly be brought to heel, and all of these changes will kind of take place. It's, what planet are you on? Are you drunk? Are you doing drugs? Are you smoking drugs? Like, what's going on? Or is your mind such a one-dimensional thing that you don't realize that some big social problems don't have a, this guy is bad and that guy is good, so everything that this person does is bad and everything that person does is good? Some of these things don't get solved like that. And that is part of the problem why we are in such a bad situation, because you're not asking the right questions. This is not just a, oh, Modi's faked his political science, entire political science degree, and Rahul Gandhi gives good speeches. So, no, I have no reason to believe that the education policy would be very drastically different. This is what they have wanted. Private universities were set up under these regimes. The the guy, the Jindal guy, he was a Congress MP, and now he was in the Congress, and now he's a BJP. He's in BJP. He has a steel plant and he has a university, right? That university gives jobs to a lot of people. Great, including many Ambedkarites and Bahujan scholars. Great, I'm very happy for them. More power to them. But, like, as a structure, that kind of an institution only comes about because of this consensus between the Congress and the BJP, and actually all Savarna civil society. It's not even a political question. Even the Savarna civil society, all the powerful editors, many of the writers, many of the NGO workers, development workers, they're in complete agreement with these tech dudes. They're in agreement with this. They want this. उनको चाहिए प्राइवेटाइजेशन. उनको हटाना है कास्ट बेस्ड representative social justice. They want education fees to be much higher. There's a Kumaramangalam Birla and the Ambani report on education, early 2000s, right? Fantastic. Like, it's not a sketch, it's not comedy. The Birla Ambani report on education, they came together and proposed a policy direction to the government. This was in the early 2000s. They're saying it. This is not new. The plan was in there. In that plan, they are saying make higher education very expensive, make school education free and good for everybody. So we have very basic literate people. So your Zomato driver and your Uber driver knows how to know, hello ma'am, thank you ma'am, is there any problem ma'am, can I help you ma'am? So teach them till that much. After class 12, when they go for higher education, make like, how will you give free education to 1.3 billion people at the school level? Very easy. You make up the money by making higher education really expensive. So don't give BA degree for 12,000 rupees. Give BA degree for 30 lakh rupees. So then the question becomes like, how will people afford it? Great, they'll take loans. So basically, they wanted to bring the student debt system, which, as we know, is clearly working so well in the US where it exists, right? For those of you who don't get it, that's sarcasm. It's a terrible system where every student enters college. I had student debt. That's how I did my MBA. My parents didn't have money to send me to B schools. And when I did my MBA did not cost 25 lakh rupees, right? Uh, you don't like now you go for a 25 lakh rupee MBA, and the average package placement on campus is about 12 lakh, 10 lakh, 13 lakh, if you're lucky. When I went in, my MBA cost 6 lakh rupees. The average salary placement was 7 lakh rupees. So it was like, okay, risk le sakte hain. If I was a young student today, I would not even think of the MBA because wouldn't be able to afford it, right? So my point is that even back then, that was the plan. All of these private universities is basically doing that, and the same people, by the way, who are creating these super elite private universities and all of that, many of the same capital, many of the same people, same institutions, same organization, same capital is behind things like Teach for India. What is Teach for India? It is basically like predominantly rich Savarna kids being parachuted into low income schools and saying that, look, we can do better teaching. And before anybody gets it, like, Teach for India again triggers a lot of people. I have no patience for it. Okay, I know enough people in Teach for. Many of my former students have gone to Teach for India, and I have spoken to them about my ideas before they went in, and then they went in, and then spoken to them after that. Like, and I say many, okay, and I know exactly what that is. People I studied with, people I have taught, and I used to work in Flame University in Pune. The 2 months, 3 months when students go for their summer internships and campus is empty, the college used to give. I don't know if they still do it. The college used to get Teach for India people to come in. So the workshop that Teach for India does for its fellows before they start sending them out into these schools, those workshops, those stay 2-3 weeks of intense training used to happen on campus, and I used to be there. So I've been at ground zero, and I'm a critical ethnographic kind of person. So he was like, wow, this is a gold mine. This is the best thing that could have happened to me, because year after year I'm actually seeing what this great world class training that is being given to these students, some of them whom I have taught. So I know exactly what capacity of empathy and social background and motivation you are going into the program with, and the rest of the people more or less I kind of place. There are some very genuine people there. I will also not completely paint everybody with the same brush. I don't need to make this clarification, okay? Again, I'll say, don't be a child. When I say these things in a sweeping statement, I don't mean quote unquote everyone, because I'm not an idiot. Okay, there's some very genuine hardworking people within Teach for India, right? Many of them will privately also tell you what the problems with an organization like that are, but they're also well-meaning, they're earnest. Within the system, they're trying to do, like, every system has that, right? I'm not talking about them, but I saw the training. I spoke to many of the trainers. I was in Pune, many of them matched with me on dating apps. So like, I kind of know what this is, like, at multiple levels. And what that is very transparent. The same kind of capital, the same kind of institutions which is honoring, celebrating interventions like Teach for India on one side, is actively trying to make higher education inaccessible to, ironically, the same kind of kids that they're trying to uplift at the school level. What they'll do is they'll handpick one or two garib bacha from some slum basti, and they will take him or her to like a very elite level. So they'll take one or two of these cherry picked examples and see, look at this child. He was in a slum, then Teach for India went in, or whatever organization went in, and now they are studying in Harvard. So like one or two people they'll send, and I'm very happy for them. But we are not interested in one or two people. We are interested in millions and millions and millions and hundreds of millions of youth. That's not the job of the private sector. That's a state. Education is a nation building activity, right? It's primarily and I've said this before, it's a enlightenment activity. You're supposed to take students and build them up. You're supposed to take an entire generation of youth and build it up. That's the cohort. And nothing about our education policy in the last 20 years at least suggests that, whether it is a Congress, whether it is a BJP, no matter who's the education minister, the UGC, none of these people are remotely interested in seeing it like that. They're very happy creating a super elite pipeline for the wealthiest, students, Savarna students, to kind of benefit from. They're very happy to create a super elite pipeline for big Savarna Banya capital to kind of get into the education business. They're very happy to profit from politically and economically from the coaching class mafias, but they're not interested in looking holistically at our youth across cultural backgrounds, religious backgrounds, geographical backgrounds. The absolute lack of options, that areas like the Northeast have, that even states like Odisha struggle with, that states like even MP and Chhattisgarh struggle with, Jharkhand struggle with, Bengal, my God, outside of Calcutta, like Bengal is a very densely populated state, huge parts of it, right? The absolute lack of options, in terms of education and access and possibility, no one speaks about it. This has not been a priority conversation in Indian politics ever, except for that brief period in the early 2000s, coming off the Mandal era, agitations of the 90s, where all of these, like, alliance partners of the UPA, all these OBC social justice parties. I shouldn't say OBC social justice parties, but like these Yadav parties in North India, some of these Dravidian parties, like they pressured. So, like, you had these situations, like when Mayawati was chief minister of Uttar Pradesh, she built universities, right? When UPA was in power and dependent on some of these, social justice, North India, Samajwadi type parties, they had to open up, they had to build more central universities, they had to commit to building more AIMS, more law schools, more IIMs, more IITs. And I don't think that they liked it, because almost immediately, like I said earlier in the podcast, almost immediately they started, like, subverting that access by creating private universities, almost reassuring wealthy Savarnas ki tum chinta mat karo, don't worry, just because we are adding the OBC quota, and just because we are building more IIMs, and just because we are building more IITs, doesn't mean that now there will be a bahujanizing of education, there'll be a subalternizing, subaltern access to the education. तुम्हारे लिए we'll just create an elite new layer, right? तो तुम उसमें चले जाओ. So that's the thing. And then of course there is this constant idea of tweaking NCERT textbooks, right? Currently there is one change which has happened in the political science textbooks. I'm looking at my old timeline. On 4th April there was another one which was on in the history textbooks. These guys, like, this is so unnecessary. Like, again, I don't think elite Savarnas understand what a big deal NCERT textbooks are, because many of them study in international curriculum schools, IB schools, so they don't actually have to deal with NCERT textbooks. Many of them don't understand that NCERT textbooks are the curriculum, official curriculum for, like, I think over 24,000 CBSE affiliated schools in India. Because, like, even if you go to a CBSE school in a big city like Bombay or Delhi, even though the curriculum is NCERT, these English medium elite CBSE schools, and when I say elite, I don't mean like IB school elite. That's a super elite level, right? But these were the old English medium CBSE, ICSE schools. But like this CBSE ones, even though the NCERT is a syllabus, they will not use the NCERT textbook in class because they consider it quote unquote too basic. So they would have different other textbooks which are there, right? So, even if you are in a CBSE school, there's a high chance you didn't actually study from a NCERT textbook if you're an elite person, right? But if you go to smaller towns, if you go to Zilla Parishad schools, if you go to these regional spaces, right? NCERT textbook is not just for the CBSE school, it is your core curriculum. It is the advanced curriculum. It is what you study to upgrade yourself. Because after your class 12th, when you apply for college, you will have to write the CUET, centralized, I forget, um centralized university entrance test or something. Basically, when I was young, every university you had to apply individually. You had to figure out when there was a deadline, when there was this, when there was that. So in theory, it's a good thing that you kind of have centralized it. But what it does is immediately is, like, earlier, if I was, let's say, this kid growing up in rural Jharkhand or rural Gujarat or rural Karnataka, and somehow I got to know about JNU, I could spend 1 year preparing and hyper focusing on the JNU entrance exam. I could have cracked it and I could have gone straight to JNU, right? So I could have gone straight from Bellary to, JNU, could have gone straight from Bhuj to JNU, right? Gone straight from Balaghat to JNU. Now what I have to do is I have to write the CUET exam, right? And the cutoffs, I have to deal with all of that. So it's a bit of a problem, because I can't, like, sort of, I have to kind of figure out like where my number will land, right? The CUET syllabus in most cases is aligned with the NCERT textbook, right? So you can't get away without doing this. If you are in that exam framework, you have to study this. So NCERT is very, very directly related to that, and that's it. So any tinkering with it is pointless. Like, I mean, pointless nahi, matlab, it has a huge impact. And even in that, like, the current, like, changes, I wrote an article about it on the Quint. Like, even the people who oppose it, you see their arguments are so hack. They're like, oh, they're saffronizing education. Are bhai, theek hai. Education curriculum everywhere in the world has a political alignment issue. Okay, great. That's not, honestly, as a teacher, I have a bigger issue with it, because the justification that the NCERT director said for changes, especially in the political science curriculum. In the political science curriculum, basically they watered down the Babri Ayodhya issue, and they made some changes, and they undermined the achievements of some Mughal emperors and stuff like that, right? And when he was asked, like, why have you done it, and he's like, look, we want to make positive citizens. Why will we teach our students about riots and these kind of things? Yeah, they also said vote bank politics is bad. Okay, vote bank politics is bad because, then the community, like, gets limited to the vote bank politics and all of that. And he said, like, why would we teach our kids anything else? Because we don't want them to be negative and negative citizens. We want them to be positive citizens. So as a teacher, when I hear the NCERT director talk like that, it worries me, because what it means is the NCERT director in his dumb head has equated lack of critical questioning, lack of critical thinking, a culture of obedience and quietness, and complete servility. He has mistaken that for positivity. So any form of critical question that you raise, any form, And as teachers, you can't create independent minded people if you don't expose them to difficult conversations, if you don't let them historicize things. Look, it's not a brainwashing activity. You have to understand, the student is not stupid, especially not in this era where every kind of information is easily available. I routinely go into classes, I find all kinds of opinions in my students, right? There are very incel people, there are very woke people, there are very right wing, very left wing, all kinds of people. It's not my job as a teacher to and I tell them that it's not my job as a teacher to win you over and convert you to my point of view. My job as a teacher is to kind of give you the tool so that you figure out your own reality. And if your truth differs from me as a person, that's good, that's fine. you know like, it's fine with me. It means I've succeeded as a teacher. As a person, I don't want you as my friend because you're horrible as a person. But as a teacher, I will be happy because I've succeeded. What I want from you is, if you are going to be like a very conservative right wing person, then give me a good argument, logically work it out, in which case I can be like, okay, well, that's your position, great, I can't argue with it. Make me shut up by the argument, by the kind of case you're making, by evidence based reasoning, whatever it is, right? Look at perspectives, look how narratives are built, look what your discourse is, how you're changing that, what your take on that is. Then the only thing I can say is, as a personally, I don't agree with it. So I don't like, and that's good. Like, I don't need to be a friend. But as a teacher, that's my thing. You should not be just repeating buzzwords from WhatsApp, whether it is for BJP or the left or whatever it is, or Bitcoins. I don't give a shit. My point is, that's not what should be happening. You should be able to reason things out, work things out, be critical minded. Because here's the thing, that is what makes you employable. Okay? Like, there's a huge crisis of employability people, because people can't think for themselves. They can't independently kind of arrive at ideas. They go by system, they go by convention, they go by what the boss wants, what the organization wants. They don't. So such people, for all the talk of innovation and change, these people are not going to be innovators. This is why I've said it consistently. We are creating a class of, a generation of clerks, of cowardly compliant clerks. And no disrespect to clerks, but clerks are very useful, but they are not the people you think in your mind as the innovators, right? Clerks are very good at following orders. You tell them these 10 things have to be done on a checklist, they'll get it done, right? That's also skill, that's also discipline, that's work ethic. Great, more power to you. But if you're trying to create, as our national education policy claims to want to create critical minded people, my god, how will you create critical thinking students when your teachers don't know how to do critical thinking, when your university administrators have never done it, where nobody in the system top to bottom knows anything except like this cringing compliant g hazuri basis? So how will you do it? It can't be done, it absolutely can't be done. And this is one of the big problems, right? And then the UGC chair in April, he kind of wrote an article also, and he announced this policy that what they want is that now BA program can be 4 years under the new education policies. After that BA program, you can directly go to PhD. So you do your BA 4 year program, and if you have above 75% or something, then you can directly go for a PhD. No need to do a master's. MPhil they have anyways removed. So you can go from BA to PhD. Right. Now, this is such a weird kind of a suggestion, because it almost seems like, it's designed to um, help universities like the Sonipat universities. Because this is a big problem. None of these elite super rich private universities, if you notice, have a strong master's program. And they can't have a strong master's program because The whole pipeline is that you spend crores of rupees, lakhs of rupees on putting your child through an IB school. Then they reach class 12. They're still too young to be sent abroad. Some still go, but like they're still too young. So the parent will send them to an Ashoka or wherever. So they do another 3 4 years, right? By which time the child has reached early 20s and they have like a personality, and you see it, and like they're young adults now, and they've got that like touch and refinement. Now you can send them abroad for a master's. So some of the most sought after elite private liberal university bachelor's programs, Flame, Jinnagal, Ashoka, Kriya, all of these places don't have very good master's programs. Like those are not so much in demand. They might have some programs, like Ashoka has like the Young India Fellowship and everything. It's a fellowship. It's a year-long thing, right? And I think many of these were initially started with the idea because the BA program was 3 years. Many foreign universities wanted 16 years in the US. So BA will only get you till 15 years. So you do one more year fellowship here and there, and 16 years will happen, and then you can go directly abroad. It seems like the UGC is recreating this exact policy, except they're saying that, why do a master's here? Do a, BA from Ashoka, then go directly for a PhD in Jindal. Like, and we are already on that path where foreign direct investment in education has been allowed. So there is a high possibility, we'll have a Princeton, Gurgaon, Yale, Navi Mumbai. So then parents will be like, okay, this is great. You do BA from Ashoka, and then you do directly PhD from Harvard, Harvard, Navi Mumbai, or something like that, and then that's fine. So these are, like I said, none of these policies suggest that, they're actually looking for a student friendly, a future facing, nation building, whatever you want to say. I'm already 1 hour 12 minutes into this. uh so I don't want to like kind of go over the whole NEET and net thing now. I've spoken too much here and there, but I will just say this: like the NEET thing was so shocking. Like exam papers are leaking across the board. NEET is the biggest exam for which it has happened, but this has been regularly happening at state level, banking exams and things of that nature. They're regularly in Rajasthan and in UP, in many places where they've had to cancel exams. So this has been a pattern. Like this problem is not a one-off. This has been building, and there has been, again, the government, the education ministry is not interested in it. UGC, NTA, they are not interested in fixing it. Nobody is interested in fixing it. Even the opposition, even the civil society, which apparently hates this government and is very critical, I haven't seen professors from elite universities or big public university. I haven't seen anybody really speak about this. This is not really an issue. Civil society sleep, it literally touches lives of lakhs and lakhs of people. It's not something that they're taking very seriously. Nobody is interested in saving our young people from the clutches of this coaching mafia. It's a coaching mafia only. Like, you go to some of these coachings, and maybe I'll do another episode on this at a little later. Maybe I should just make this podcast an education podcast. What about that? I mean, why not? That's all I talk about anyways. So, but like the conditions under which our young people are kept in some of these engineering and other coaching entrance exams is brutal. Our prisoners are not put in situations like that. Like last year there was a story from Kota in Rajasthan, which is like a hub of like many of these coaching centers. They literally install fans with detachable spring or something, so that if a kid tries to hang themselves from it, the fan just comes down. So they're not trying to solve this problem. Why are 15, 16, 17-year olds trying to kill themselves? You know, because we are kind of like making this coaching system so horrible. No, 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 that we'll not fix. Let's just make suicide unfriendly fans. It's terrible. Like nobody is interested. Like you go to the toxic atmosphere in these coaching centers, they shame the students. you know If God forbid you go out for one evening to have chat or chai with your friends and you laugh somewhere, my God, the guilt some of these young people face. A 15, 16, 17 year olds, like, not being regular teenagers, because they are under so much guilt that, my God, they're having a good time. I remember when I was a student, like, I I had so little self-worth, because like I would just run away from those classes. I couldn't take it. And I used to feel so guilty about it. I used to think I'm the worst person on the planet. I'm like lying to my mother, my father, and like, they have such high hopes from me. You guilt a kid like that. And then these coaching centers, they treat the children horribly. They'll be like, okay, we'll have 6 batches. So if you're a topper, like, they'll give these coaching exams, and they'll take these internal exams within the coaching center. So the top students will be put in batch A, so you're the toppers. So now there's incredible pressure. Let's say you do badly in one of the, you'll be put in the lower batch. And so you're recreating like this caste hierarchy type of thing only, लाइक ये कैसा कोचिंग सेंटर है कि सिर्फ टॉप बच्चों को हम कन्वर्ट कराएंगे. लाइक आई एम अ टीचर. Good students, top students, talented students, so anybody can teach here. What is your contribution there? The real challenge of being a teacher is you work with the students who are struggling. You bring them up. You don't leave them behind. You don't guilt them. You don't throw them to the wolves. You don't shame them. That's how this coaching industry works. And all of this, by the way, is to get into a college. It's just infuriating. And after all of this these stupid organizations can't even hold an exam properly. The admit card will come late, will come one day before, will be sent online. Now, not everybody is sitting in bloody South Delhi or South Bombay with like 5G internet and AC home, that they get the entrance. Even for that person, getting an admit card 1 or 2 days before the entrance exam is cutting it too close. They will also feel anxiety. But like if you're in a small town, if you're in a rural area, internet connection is patchy. The center, you don't know where it will land. Like you have to take a bus, you have to go to take a train. Like the amount of running around they make young people do, not just young people. Like you can't send your kids, so the family is going, mother, father, uncle, someone is going. Like इनमें से किसी चीज की सुनवाई नहीं है यार. Like there's nobody is interested in listening. There's no authority you can petition, no thing you can say. कुछ भी नहीं बोल सकते. ये चल रहा है. You just have to deal with it. And then you come to know that there are irregularities in the exam. So all the years you suffered in preparation, the absolute horror of the actual giving the exam के बाद तुमको मालूम चलता है, oh, they haven't done the exam properly. Like, how are they so comfortable playing with the youth can get angry very quickly. The fact that they simply don't care or not alarmed. And it's far worse for SC/ST OBC students, and they mess those things up. Like in Maharashtra government, like another classic example of just the absolute shit fuckery these people do. They changed the rules of the Chhatrapati Sahuji Maharaj Overseas Scholarship. I mentioned that point earlier in the podcast. Almost every single student who goes abroad from India is Savarna, because the wealth, the cultural capital, the awareness that is needed to not just uh, apply and give the entrance exams, but also the awareness, access, and all of those things is available to only that group in a very significant way. So I'm not saying that there are not occasional SC/ST OBC people who have some intergenerational wealth, not intergenerational wealth, like wealth due to one generation doing well. So I'm sure some of those people also go, but predominantly it's a very, very 90-95% Savarna kind of cohort which is going abroad. I think there was a paper, if I'm not mistaken, Anshul had written it in Roundtable India a few years ago, about how 5.5 lakh Indian students went abroad, to study. I think in 2022 or 20, that was the figure that had come. You can assume, let's say 95% or 90 of them are Savarna. So, like, like I think 90 guys must be 99%. So his math was very simple. So by that logic, by representative logic, government of India should be sending 1 lakh people, SCSTs, abroad. And you should, right? Pay that money, send them abroad. So representatively, different sections of society are able to benefit from top level education, and the kind of change, the social change, the perspective that they'll bring, because they understand their communities and now they have this exposure. No, forget 1 lakh, forget 10,000, forget 1,000. They don't even send 100 people properly. Okay. And there are these scholarship, the national overseas scholarship, and then some state governments have it. Maharashtra has it, the one I was talking about. Rajasthan created a new one. Jharkhand has one. And some of my friends have used these scholarships and gone abroad. Now Maharashtra government scholarship has said that you need 75% in college. If you get that, then we will fund your overseas education. If I am a student, if I have studied from Nagpur University, I have studied in Bid, in Marathwada, in small towns like, Nanded or Sambhaji Nagar, Kolhapur. If I have studied from there and I managed to apply to Columbia University or Princeton University, Oxford, and they have given me an admission. If Oxford has given me an admission despite having studied in Kolhapur or Satara or wherever, so I'm clearly an able candidate. Who are you to come in and then say that no, no, we will not fund you because you don't have 75% in your college? There are many reasons why a person like that does not have 75%. I didn't have 75%. I didn't even have 60%. I had, in my BA, I had 59 point something percent. I'm a second class student, by the way, right? And there are many reasons for it. One of them was when I joined college at the undergrad level, my family was so unhappy that I had joined a day college. They wanted me to join one of these shady, purgy, attendance not required morning colleges, so they could put me in some shop as a salesman and or something, or help my father with his sweatshop business, so that I could bring money into the family. And I refused to do that, and I joined that college. And so they were like, "Fine, you joined that college. We will just not let you go to college." So one whole semester, my first semester in Jadavpur University in my BA, I missed. It was stalemate. I was kept under house arrest in my house. My parents were like, "No, we're not letting you go out." So I missed that whole thing. And when you fail a semester, you could, the rule back then was you could only appear for the end term exam, which was 30 marks. So I will get my marks out of 50, but I can only appear for 30 because internal components I've got 0 0, right? So best of luck. So I am only, the best I can do is score 20. I need to score 20 out of 30, because in this mark sheet it will show as 20 out of 50. I don't know if you can follow it up, but 21 out of 30 if I get in my re-exam, which I will take later on, 21 out of 30 is a good score. But in the mark sheet it will show as 21 out of 50 because I missed the two internal exams, because my lunatic parents were like keeping me locked in. My whole percentage, my whole thing dropped because of that one semester. I never was able to make it up. So assuming I was eligible for this scholarship, I shouldn't go abroad, because my parents did not understand due to intergenerational, because of all of these, this illiteracy, that they didn't understand that the doors education can open. Who are you actually? Who are you as a government to step in the way? If Oxford has given me admission, if UCLA has given me admission, if Stanford has given me admission, right? Who the hell are you to say no, we will not fund you, when you're letting lakhs of these students go unregulated? And don't even let me start, they're going on their own money. Yeah, how did they get that money? What's the political economy of that wealth? Let's talk. What a shit country, what a shit society this has become, where we really kind of punish our students and discriminate against them so badly. So the Maharashtra government scholarship thing was such a like I read that, like usually when I get like some news about some fuckery which has happened in the education policy somewhere, central state level, usually I get angry. When I read that, mm, my heart just fell. I just felt depressed because I know so many people, right? Many of my friends who were counting on this scholarship. You know, I was as you know, regular listeners of the show know that I spent a year working in Nalanda under Anup Bhai and the Nalanda team in Varda. I met some of the most amazing scholars, very hardworking people, people who came up from Marathi medium, Zilla Parishad schools. Like I know many of them literally, they should go abroad. They're fantastic scholars. They would kill it with that kind of, you know, exposure, and like the journey that they've covered this far, they're just waiting for that little, and this kind of a random change, right? Like my heart just fell because I could see their faces and I was like, oh shit, oh shit, now what? Let's say this policy gets, you know, best case scenario, this policy gets taken back. After 1 year, they'll say, okay, we are not doing that, right? Or there's Maharashtra elections later in the year, and let's say BJP loses and the new government comes in and they change the policy. Ek saal to gaya na. So 1 whole year of their life you've taken, and these are people coming from marginalized backgrounds. 1 year is not something that they can casually give away. Their families to support, they have lots of things. So you're playing with their lives, and there is no real policy justification that you can say that no, by putting this 75% criteria we are actually, you know, creating this no, there is nothing you can defend. The only reason that I can see is that you will put that criteria of 75%. Anyways, small town, regional, Zilla Parishad and local college students, they don't get 75%. It's difficult. They have caste teachers, you have all kinds of things. Nobody gives you 75%. And like, unless I know that's a target I have to study to, at least like, okay, now students are going into college now. We'll be like, okay, that's the thing. So 3 years later, I'll try to keep my percentage up. When you don't know these things, you will not even, you don't even work for it, and then you're retroactively punishing students. If you want to change the policy, say okay, fine, we'll do 75%, but not with effect this year. It will come into effect 3 years down the line. So the students who are going into college now have a target to work towards. Let's not punish the batches who are already passed. But this kind of policy retroactively punishes people who've already passed, because you know what you'll do, this is designed simply for the fact they will announce a scholarship, they will say 75% and above, and when then they will say not found suitable, no candidates were found, so we couldn't send them because that was a criteria, nobody met a criteria. That's what these things are. And like the whole education policy, I can talk here for hours and hours and episode after episode. Each of these things that I've talked about, the elite savarna coaching, not coaching, elite savarna consultancies, which, you know, sort of designer cherry pick their profiles to basically place them abroad, to coaching class mafia, the treatment that they give to our students, to education policy, this hyper privatization as a means of ending and finishing off caste based representative social affirmation, to specific entrance exams like NEET and UGC NET, which are currently in the news because of these flawed things, to, you know, this idea of NCERT textbook changes from, you know, creating positive students and this and that, to this, you know, uniformity, like this international curriculum लेके आ गए हैं, क्यों लेके आए हैं, क्या लॉजिक है. There's been no debate in the national education policy on this. There's been no attempt to coordinate this, regulate this, nothing. इसके ऊपर बात कर सकते हैं. Or you know scholarships like NOS or Maharashtra government scholarship, which are just randomly waking up one day and changing the rules, making it impossible for, you know, students to aspire for these things. Like एक तो you're giving only 100 scholarships, 50-60 तो तुम देते हो, उसमें भी तुम ये उंगली मार रहे हो. Like कितना छोटा दिल है तुम्हारा, मतलब I don't understand this. Like how vicious, petty, horrible minded are you? कि तुमसे ये भी नहीं देखा जा रहा कि 50 बच्चे जा रहे हैं, वो भी तुमसे हैंडल नहीं हो रहा, तुम्हारे तो लाखों जा रहे हैं. Like, do you not want the पिछड़ा वर्ग of this country to develop? Do you not want the backwardly placed people in this country to get a good education? Are they not your fellow citizens? Are they not your fellow countrymen? Are they not part of this nation that you call great? So if you want the nation to be great, you have to build these people up. Why won't you let them have these opportunities? Nobody has answers to these things, and nobody's even asking the right questions. Bas din raat, oh Modi, hi, Modi is bad, Modi ka mazak uda. Fine, you do all of that, but understand education especially is a policy which goes back beyond Modi. Manmohan Singh, Congress, UPA did many of these things. What do you have to say about that? I haven't heard Rahul Gandhi talk about education policy. I haven't heard him say that he will look at private universities. Why are private universities 50% of higher education university in comparison to state universities in this country? Who's going to talk about that? Even the so-called opposition, liberal, critical-minded people, nobody has any questions, nobody has any ideas for this. What about the people who are born in, like, states like Odisha and Western Odisha and, Assam and, all the students in Arunachal, Meghalaya, unka kya hai? They just have to be on the periphery. What about students in a state like Punjab? Do you know how few options there are in Punjab? मतलब वहां का यूथ नशे नहीं करेगा तो और क्या करेगा, रखा क्या है आपने वहां पर? Look at Haryana, like what are the options of studying there? Like Sonipat is not for Haryana, it's for like all of these other people. Like campus se bahar niklo and you see what Haryana is. Go to these towns, go to Sirsa, Jind, go to Hisar, see what these towns have to offer. तो मतलब I don't know what to say. Maybe like and I haven't even spoken about student dropout and student suicides. आईआईटी में बच्चे मर रहे हैं, आईआईटी में स्कॉलर्स मर रहे हैं, सुसाइड कर रहे हैं, एक दो नहीं, बल्क. आईआईटी मद्रास, आई थिंक 8 suicides, बॉम्बे, दिल्ली, आईआईटी कानपुर, आईआईटी खड़गपुर. Now it comes out another news that this student suicide was actually not a suicide, it was a murder. There was a bullet, whatever mark. Like what the fuck is going on? Like education minister, opposition, Delhi media, academia, civil society, ye Teach for India, all of these, like random लोग, जितने भी लोग है कि किसी को नहीं कुछ बोलना है इस पे. I'm just, oh well, we're at 1 hour 30 mark. I really should stop. I'll reflect on this. I'm very agitated. I'll keep thinking about this. Um, this was a difficult episode. There's just so much to talk about, and nobody is talking about it. Anyways, if you're still listening, sorry for the intense rant. I'll try to be more funny next time. Anyways, thank you for listening. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye-bye. Right. If you like this episode, please consider following me on Patreon, where I do a second show, a small half an hour on the weekly news and things of that nature, the absurdities and the surreal stuff which is happening around. If you've had enough of me and if you don't want to listen to me that much, I completely understand. I can't tolerate myself. In that case, I would request you to go to buy me a coffee and please support me or you can just keep listening to my free share. I don't mind. Thank you very much. Jai Bhim. See you all.